Imagine being on an ordinary day, surrounded by the hustle and bustle of life, and suddenly being confronted by a scene that changes everything. This is exactly what happened to Samuel, a millionaire businessman, when he came across a homeless mother and her baby facing a relentless storm. In that moment, something awakened inside him, a hidden force that few can explain, but everyone recognizes when they feel it. If you've ever been in a situation where the urge to help was uncontrollable, you know what I'm talking about. But unlike most, Samuel didn't just feel compassion, he acted. And this action set off a sequence of events that not only transformed lives, but also revealed secrets no one could have imagined. What led a man who had everything to get so deeply involved? What happened after he decided to get out of his car and change the lives of Natalia and her baby? And, more importantly, how did these choices impact not only those he helped, but also Samuel's own journey? Prepare yourself for a story that goes beyond altruism, touching on themes of love, reconnection, and purpose. You will see that sometimes the greatest riches aren't in the bank balance, but in the lives we touch and the stories we help to write. On a night where the sound of rain seemed to fill the city's silence, Samuel, a millionaire businessman, was returning home after a long day. While waiting for the traffic light to change, he spotted something that froze his thoughts: a mother and her baby, huddled under a canopy, struggling against the cold. It wasn't just the sight that impacted him, but what it symbolized, a reality he never had to face. And that was when something inside him changed. The rain wouldn't stop, and Samuel knew he could simply ignore it and move on. But that moment revealed more than misery. It showed a mirror reflecting his own comfortable life. He thought, if I have so much, why not help those who have so little? This kind of thinking doesn't come out of nowhere. It's the voice of conscience awakening when we're ready to listen. He got out of the car, without an umbrella, and approached the mother with a strange sense of urgency. When he looked at the baby in her arms, he saw something that disconcerted him: hope. That child, despite everything, was smiling. Samuel felt as if the universe was sending him a message. After all, how many times do we pass by opportunities to help without noticing? The mother, who introduced herself as Natalia, was hesitant but accepted the help. Samuel took her to a safe place and committed to offering more than a temporary solution. No one should have to go through this, he said as he called a shelter. There, he learned that helping goes beyond donating money. It's about getting involved, creating connections, and understanding others. Who would have thought that a simple gesture could transform so much? In that instant, Samuel wasn't just a millionaire, he was a man rediscovering the meaning of the word responsibility. He understood that wealth is more than numbers in a bank account, it's the ability to make a difference in someone's life. And you? Have you ever thought that a small act of kindness can change an entire story? There is something powerful in recognizing that destiny crosses our paths with others for reasons we don't always understand at the moment. Samuel, who previously saw philanthropy as something distant, now felt the direct impact of his actions. He realized that, often, we don't need to go far to find people who need our help. It's just a matter of looking around attentively. The story doesn't end here. In fact, what seemed to be just an altruistic gesture began to trigger unexpected revelations. But it wasn't time to think about that yet. Samuel was about to realize that that encounter was only the beginning of something much bigger. His life would never be the same again. A few days later, Samuel found himself standing before a luxurious stage, illuminated by spotlights that captured his every movement. The charity event gathered businessmen, artists, and influencers, but Samuel had something very different in mind for that speech. He had prepared words that would not only touch hearts, but also plant seeds of transformation. After all, the scene of the mother and baby in the rain wouldn't leave his mind. He began by telling Natalia's story with a sincerity that seemed out of place in such a pompous environment. I thought I understood what success was, until I realized how far I was from the reality of so many people. These words echoed through the room, breaking the bubble of comfort. The audience, accustomed to generic speeches, was captivated by the intensity of the narrative. Samuel made sure to connect the story with a call to action. When was the last time you stepped out of your routine to see someone in need? I'm not talking about donating an amount and forgetting about it, but truly changing a life. The words were simple but carried undeniable weight. The silence in the audience was almost palpable. He had captured something everyone there knew but avoided facing. He continued with practical examples, suggesting ways to act for those who wish to go beyond. You don't need to be a millionaire to make a difference. Support local organizations, invest time in community causes, or even listen to someone who needs help. Every gesture counts. That speech transformed an ordinary event into something personal for everyone present. In the middle of the speech, Samuel revealed something that shocked the audience. He had already taken steps to support Natalia and several other homeless families. We cannot wait for things to change on their own. Change begins with us. These words, spoken with a firm tone, made some of the businessmen present look down, visibly impacted. It was impossible not to notice the emotion flowing in that environment. Samuel was not there for self-promotion. He wanted to plant an idea that would germinate. If each one of us leaves here today willing to help at least one person, believe me, we will create something much greater than ourselves. It was a statement that transformed the event, bringing purpose to something that could have been just another charity dinner. As he finished, the applause came, but Samuel knew that the work was only beginning. He stepped down from the stage with the feeling that he had initiated a silent revolution. The question hammering in his mind was, and now, what more can be done? What he didn't know was that new connections were about to reveal even deeper secrets. After the speech, Samuel decided it was time to act concretely. He found Natalia again, this time in a safer environment. The first thing he did was ensure that she and the baby had a roof over their heads. "This is not charity, it's a new beginning," he said as he took them to a temporary apartment he had rented. For Natalia, it was like waking up from a nightmare and seeing a ray of light for the first time. Samuel didn't stop there. He knew that providing shelter was just the beginning. He personally attended to every detail, from buying clothes to enrolling the baby in a nearby daycare. He wanted Natalia to feel that she wasn't alone. After all, it's easy to donate money, but the true impact comes when we invest time and dedication into something or someone. It was during this process that Samuel realized the power of practical generosity. Helping is not just about solving immediate problems, but building a different future for those who didn't have the same opportunities, he reflected. He began to inspire others by sharing small details of what he was doing, showing that even simple gestures can have gigantic consequences. Natalia, in turn, began to flourish in her new reality. Samuel connected her to a professional training course and helped her build a resume. People need tools more than handouts, he explained to a friend who joined the initiative and funded part of the program. Change was happening, and Natalia was not the only one benefiting. One of the days they spent together, Samuel surprised Natalia by saying he wanted to learn more about her story. That's when she revealed details that left him stunned. She had been a nurse and, in past times, had helped save lives, including that of someone very important in Samuel's journey. He felt as if destiny had woven everything together for that moment. This revelation was a turning point. Samuel realized that Natalia was not just someone who needed help, but also someone with extraordinary strength. He began to admire her deeply, and the bonds between them became more human, closer. The impact of his generosity was going far beyond the material. It was something transformative for both of them. The story of Natalia and Samuel was far from over. On the contrary, new challenges and secrets were about to emerge, forcing both to confront their own vulnerabilities. It was as if life was setting the stage for something even greater, something that would change not only their stories, but also those of everyone around them. During a quiet afternoon, Samuel invited Natalia to have lunch with his family. He wanted to integrate her into his inner circle, but little did he know that this meeting would bring surprising revelations. As they talked, Natalia shared about a time when she worked as a nurse, revealing episodes that showcased her dedication to the profession. One of them particularly caught his attention. She described a medical emergency involving a man in critical condition. When Natalia mentioned the name of the hospital and some details, Samuel felt a shiver run down his spine. His father, who was at the table, widened his eyes and interrupted, "Was it you who saved my life?" Silence fell over the room. The connection was undeniable. Natalia had been the nurse responsible for stabilizing Samuel's father years ago, after a serious accident. The moment was filled with pure emotion. "The world turns in ways we never imagined," Samuel commented, visibly moved. He realized that he hadn't met Natalia by chance. Destiny seemed to have woven the threads of their stories together in an almost magical way. This discovery created an even stronger bond between them, and Samuel began to see Natalia not just as someone he was helping, but as someone who had directly impacted his life. The relationship between Natalia and Samuel's family began to strengthen. His father, previously reluctant about Samuel's involvement in social causes, started to actively support his son's efforts. He said, "If she hadn't done what she did that night, maybe I wouldn't even be here today." It was as if an invisible debt had been unexpectedly paid, sealing a bond among everyone. However, Natalia was intrigued by something. During a casual conversation, she mentioned a scar on her leg that she had carried since childhood, not knowing that this would trigger another series of unexpected events. Clara, a family friend and doctor, listened attentively and asked for more details. The story Natalia told made Clara freeze for a moment, but she didn't say anything immediately. What seemed to be just a coincidence began to become something bigger. Clara, who had been searching for answers about her missing daughter's whereabouts for years, saw in Natalia's story and that scar a possible clue. The tension increased as each piece of the puzzle began to fit together. It was as if life was setting the stage for a major moment of revelation. The atmosphere among them was one of anticipation. Everyone knew that something was about to happen, but no one could exactly predict what it would be. Samuel, who until then had taken the reins in many situations, now felt at the mercy of fate. The only certainty was that the story was far from over, and new secrets were about to emerge. Clara couldn't get Natalia's scar out of her mind. The description was identical to that of an injury her daughter had suffered in childhood, before being taken away by circumstances she preferred not to recall. Driven by a sense of urgency, Clara asked Natalia to agree to take a DNA test. Natalia hesitated, but curiosity and emotion won out. It was impossible to ignore what seemed like a call from destiny. The test was conducted, and while they awaited the results, the atmosphere became thick with tension and hope. Samuel tried to calm everyone down, but even he couldn't hide his anxiety. Clara remembered the pain of losing her daughter and feared clinging to a false hope. As for Natalia, having been without family for so long, she began to imagine what it would mean to have a mother again. Everything felt too surreal. When the envelope arrived, it was Samuel who opened it. He read the results in silence before raising his misty eyes. "Natalia, Clara is your mother." The words could barely be spoken before Clara and Natalia embraced in deep tears. It was as if years of emptiness and uncertainties finally dissolved in that moment of connection. The reunion didn't erase the past, but promised a completely new future. The revelation brought with it a wave of contradictory emotions. While Clara thanked the universe for having her daughter back, Natalia struggled to process everything. Who was she before all this? What would this new connection mean for her life and her babies? Despite the doubts, she knew that this opportunity was unique. It wasn't just about having a mother again, but also about building real bonds that previously seemed impossible. Samuel, observing everything, reflected on how life can weave stories in such unpredictable ways. He began to think that his own journey up to that point wasn't a coincidence. After all, if it hadn't been for that rainy day, he would never have met Natalia, and Clara would never have reunited with her daughter. Sometimes, it takes a storm to reveal the greatest blessings, he thought, smiling at both of them. The reconnection was not just emotional, it also brought practical changes. Clara insisted that Natalia and the baby move in with her, at least while they adjusted to their new realities. This gave Natalia an even more solid foundation to start anew. Samuel helped organize everything, feeling that he was witnessing a true miracle happening right before his eyes. But the story was not complete. Clara still had questions about Natalia's past, and Samuel knew that new challenges would arise with this sudden change. It was as if each answer brought a new question, deepening the mystery and the connections between them. Everyone felt that what seemed like an end was, in fact, a new beginning. After the intense revelations, Natalia felt it was time to take control of her life. With the support of Clara and Samuel, she began to rebuild her path. She enrolled in a professional course in the healthcare field, determined to rekindle her old passion as a nurse. "I am no longer the same person who was in the rain that day," she thought, facing each day as a new opportunity. Samuel, for his part, helped behind the scenes, ensuring that nothing would stop Natalia from moving forward. He not only funded the course, but also connected her with professionals in the field. The support was not just financial, but emotional as well. "Sometimes, the greatest help we can give someone is believing in their potential," he said, as he watched Natalia flourish. Clara also played a crucial role in this new beginning. She insisted that Natalia and the baby stay with her while things stabilized. In addition to offering practical support, such as taking care of the baby while Natalia studied, Clara helped her daughter face the emotional challenges of reconnecting with a family that seemed lost forever. Their relationship strengthened each day. Natalia, who was once seen as a homeless person, began to be recognized for her strength and determination. In a short time, she secured an internship at a local clinic, where she impressed everyone with her empathy and dedication. Her story inspired those around her, showing that even in the darkest moments, it is possible to find a path of light. "I learned that resilience is like a muscle. The more we use it, the stronger it gets," she said. During this process, Samuel and Natalia became even closer. There was a connection between them that went beyond circumstances or coincidences. Both began to realize that their lives were somehow intertwined. It wasn't just gratitude that united them, but a mutual respect and admiration that grew each day. Meanwhile, Samuel reflected on the impact Natalia had brought to his life. He was no longer the same man who used to pass by the homeless without a second thought. Now, he was involved in projects that helped restructure lives. "It's funny how, by helping someone, we end up being transformed as well," he confided to a friend, acknowledging that he had found a new purpose. But the journey of Natalia and Samuel was not just about overcoming challenges, it was also about building something greater. Together, they began to discuss ways to expand their initiatives, helping other families who were in the same situation Natalia had been in. They knew the future still held many surprises, but they also believed that every step taken had a purpose. And so, destiny continued to draw a new chapter for both of them. With their lives now intertwined, Samuel, Natalia, and Clara realized that their stories had a greater impact than they could have imagined. Their union was not just a coincidence, it was a call to something greater. Inspired by Natalia's rebuilding experience, they decided to create a foundation dedicated to supporting homeless families, offering resources that went beyond the basics. "True change comes when we offer opportunities, not just temporary help," said Samuel. The foundation was born with the name Novo Lar, Nova Vida, New Home, New Life, and its main focus was to provide comprehensive support to families in vulnerable situations. From housing and education to professional training, each aspect was planned with care that reflected Natalia's journey. Clara, with her experience in the health field, led psychological support and well-being programs, while Natalia became a living example of resilience for the beneficiaries. One of the foundation's first events was a community dinner, where people served by the programs met potential supporters. Samuel made sure to open the event with an impactful speech. It all started with a mother and a baby in the rain. Today, there are hundreds of families finding hope. The audience, moved, was inspired to contribute not only with money but with time and skills. Over time, the foundation grew beyond expectations. The impact was so significant that it caught the media's attention, taking Natalia and Samuel's story beyond their communities. But the real highlight was the people who had been transformed by the project, like Jose, who got a job after years of living on the streets, and Ana, who returned to studying thanks to the support received. For Natalia, the journey was more than personal. She dedicated herself wholeheartedly to the foundation, while rebuilding her life with the baby and strengthening ties with Clara. If someone had told me that my life would change so much, I would never have believed it. But now I see that all this had a greater purpose, she reflected. She knew that her work was a way to give back to the world what she had received. Samuel also felt the transformation in his own life. He, who before saw success only in numbers, now saw the true meaning of wealth. It wasn't the numbers, but the lives impacted. The greatest legacy we can leave is not material, it's the legacy of hope that we build for others, he said, while drawing up new plans to expand the projects. And so, two families, once separated by destiny, found not only a reconnection but a shared purpose. While building a better future for so many people, they themselves were transformed. The journey of love, empathy, and resilience became a powerful example of how small actions can create great revolutions. But, like every good chapter, they knew that the story was not yet over. And then, what would you do if you were in Samuel's place? Life constantly offers us opportunities to make a difference, but the big question is, are we ready to see them and take action? Often, it is in the simple act of reaching out that we find our greatest purpose. Maybe you don't need to change the entire world, but you can start by changing someone's world. Think now, is there something or someone around you that needs help? It could be a conversation, advice, or even a small action that has the power to transform a life. What is stopping you from acting? After all, as this story taught us, sometimes a small gesture can initiate a wave of changes that go far beyond what we imagine. If this story touched you and made you reflect, don't let it end here. Subscribe to our channel and activate the notifications to continue following inspiring stories like this one. Together, we can learn, grow, and create a positive impact on the world. And who knows, you might be the next to experience a transformation like Samuel's. Let's go!